Hi, in this particular video we're going to be looking at the June 2019 higher tier Edexcel paper for GCSE maths. Please do stop the video, have a go at each of the questions and compare your solutions. If you need any help, always add a comment below, I'll always come back to you and I look forward to seeing you inside the video. Hi, in this video we're going to be looking at paper 1 and it's the Edexcel higher tier from June 2019 series. So as before, please always stop the video, have a go at each of the questions and compare your solutions. Let's move on then to question number 1, which is a fairly typical paper 1 probability type question. So fairly straightforward. We're told that there's only blue cubes, red cubes and yellow cubes in a box, and blue is 0.2, but the probability of red and yellow is the same, so all of them are going to add up to 1. So that means this would be 0.4 and this would also be 0.4 because that plus that plus that is going to equal 1. Okay, then it says complete the table, which is what we've actually done. And then it says there are 12 blue cubes in the box. Okay, work out the total number. So if there's 12 blue cubes in the box, which is 0.2, that's exactly the same as saying 20% of the total. So blue in this particular case is 12, which equals 20% of total number in the box. Okay, so let's just convert that now into a little bit of algebra. So we're going to say, well, it's 12, the decimal equivalent of that is 0.2, and of total I'm just going to put t. So if I then want to find out the value of t, I divide both sides by 0.2, divide by 0.2, and I'm going to get 60 equals t. So in this particular case, there are 60 cubes in the box. Okay, cubes. Hopefully that's okay for you. Let's move on then to question number 2. I'm going to aim for this video to be roughly about 20 minutes to 25 minutes in length. Please do stop, have a go at each of the questions. It'll give you some fairly focused revision. Okay, so number 2 is Dion needs 50 grams of sugar to make 15 biscuits. She also needs 3 times as much flour, all this sort of stuff. Okay, so let's have a look at what she actually needs for 15 biscuits. Well, basically, she needs a combination of sugar, flour, and butter. Okay, and what we're told is that she needs 50 grams of sugar. Okay, and then it says 3 times as much flour as sugar. So in other words, 3 times 50 is going to be 150 grams of flour, and then 2 times as much butter as sugar. So therefore it's going to be 2 times 50, which is going to be 100 grams. And that would be enough to make 16 biscuits. Okay, hopefully that's okay for you. Then it says she's going to make 60 biscuits. In other words, she's going to make 4 times as much. If I multiply this by 4, I'm actually going to get, that should be 15, I'm going to get 60 biscuits. Okay, if I multiply that 4, I'll get 60. So therefore, I just multiply all the other ingredients by 4. So 50 times 4 is going to be 200. 150 times 4 is going to be 600 grams. And 100 times 4 is 400 grams. Okay, so the amount of flour she's actually going to need is this one here, which is 600 grams worth of flour. Okay, hopefully that's okay for you. Okay, let's move on then to part B. It says Dion has to buy all the butter she needs to make 60 biscuits. She buys the butter in 250 gram packs. How many packs of butter does she need to buy? Well, you remember from part A she's actually looking for 400 grams of butter. So therefore, if each pack is going to be 250, it's going to be 400 divided by 250. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can do that. What I suggest you do is you make equivalent fractions. So equivalent fraction with that would be 40 over 25. And if I divide top and bottom by, say, 5, I'm going to get 8 over 5. But either way, hopefully you can see that this is 2 packs of butter, because the amount of 5s there are in 8, or the amount of 250s there are in 400, is one of them, but also then you've got a little bit left over. So actually in total she's going to need 2 packs. Whichever way you do this, you can probably just look at that or that or that and see that actually you need 2 packs. It's 1 and a little bit. Okay, hopefully that's all right. Let's move on then to question number 3. So question number 3, find the highest common factor of 72 and 90. Well, this is again very traditional for a non-calculator paper. There is a separate video on the channel all about factor trees and HCF. In fact, there's a few of them. So please do have a look at that if you're not sure about anything. So 72, I'm going to use a factor tree where I divide each side by 2 as I work through. So 36, divide that by 2 again, that's going to give me 18. Divide that by 2 again, it's going to give me 9. And I've got to the point where there's only 2 numbers I can divide into 9, which is going to be, or multiply together to make 9, which is 3 and 3. So therefore, the highest common factor, or the factors of 72 are going to be 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. So let's look now at the 90. Okay, and again, I've got 2 and 45. And then I can't divide 45 by 2, but I can divide it by 3. So that's going to be 3, and that's going to be 15. 3 again, and 5. Okay, so I'm in a position now where I've got the prime factors of each of the numbers. So if I now decide I'm going to sort of display that information in some sort of Venn diagram, what I've got then is just an easy way of displaying this. I've got 72 and 90. Okay, the common factors that I've got between the two are going to be 2 there, and then 3 here, and also another 3 there. So it's going to be 2, 3, and 3. And then what I've got left on the 72 side is going to be 2 2s. Okay, so 2 and 2. And then on the 90 side, I've just got a 5. But either way, if I want the highest common factor, all I do is I multiply the common factors together. So 2 times 3 times 3 is actually 18. So the HCF is going to equal 2 times 2 times 3, which equals 18. It's always better to show you're working if you possibly can. It just makes it a little bit easier for the examiner. Okay, let's move on then to question number 4. So question number 4, we're being asked to draw a 3D shape from a plan. Okay, so a little bit tricky if you've not done these sorts of things before, but basically this is the model, if you like, the front elevation, side elevation plan of a cylinder. What this actually looks like, and I'll try to kind of draw it on the screen, is the circle. Well, if you can imagine, it's actually looking down from above. So looking down from above, what you're going to see is a cylinder just like that. Okay, now the cylinder has actually got a diameter of 4 centimeters. Okay, and it does ask you to put the dimensions in, and it's also got a height of 5 centimeters. So where I actually got that from is the this is going to be the because it's the front elevation, you've got to imagine the circle is actually above here, which is this circle here. Okay, and in that particular case, it means the diameter is 4 or the radius is 2. The side elevation is still 4 because it is a cylinder. Okay, and both in this case, both of them got a height of 5 centimeters. So therefore, it's a cylinder with a height of 5 centimeters. Okay, let's move on then to question number 5. Now, I'm very aware this isn't great on the screen itself, but I'll give it my best shot. If you do want to download this paper and have a go at it, that's perfectly fine. I'm sure you'll be able to find it online. Okay, so shape A can be transformed to shape B by a reflection. Okay, so by reflection in the x-axis followed by a translation. So I'm not really too worried about the translation at the moment. I'm just going to look at the reflection in the x-axis. So let's just do that first bit here. Okay, so the reflection in the x-axis is that this is the x-axis along here. I'm going to reflect A in that shape. So therefore, if I do, if you can imagine, it's 2 jumps to get me to the mirror line, 2 jumps to the side. So from this point, it's going to go to this point. Similarly, this point is going to be the reflection of that. And if you can see that it's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jumps to get to the mirror line. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jumps to get to that reflection of this point here. Okay, so hopefully that's okay for you. I'm just going to kind of join that up a little bit. Okay, it'll come across all right on the video. And then that is the reflection in the x-axis. And then in the text, it says it's followed by a translation of CD. And your job is to find out what the value of C is and the value of D is. Well, basically, all we're saying is if we take this point, what we've done is jumped it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 jumps in the negative direction. So it's going to be -6. And then it's going to go 1 jump down, also in the negative direction. So it's going to be -1. So actually, C and D are going to be -6 and -1 respectively. If you want to check that with the other points, you can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 1 down. And similarly, that one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1 down. So it doesn't matter which point you use. They call them vertex. So if you want to use the proper name, it's actually the vertex of the shape. But hopefully that'll give you some idea. And right at the very bottom of the question there, we can write C is going to be -6 and D is going to be -1. And that would be the answer to that particular question. Okay, so we're about 11 minutes into the video. I'm just going to carry on a little bit longer. Please do stop the video, have a go at these questions, particularly ones that are calculation type questions as we've got here. It's worthwhile having a go at these. So shop sell packs of black, red and blue, green pens. Okay, so let's have a look at what we've got here. There are 2 pens in each pack. Well, I'm really not worried about that too much. What I'm interested in is the next little bit of information. It says this one. So on Monday, the number of packs of black pens sold is that. Packs of red, is 7 to 3 to 4. So let's have a look at writing that down in a way that sort of makes sense. So I've got black and I've got red and I've got green, and that's 7 to 3 to 4. Okay, well, if that is the case, let's just sort of add that up and say that actually that would give us 14 packs. But you'll notice in the question that it's talking about number of pens being sold. So let's just figure out how many pens are actually sold in on the Monday morning. Okay, well, each pack of black pens has got 2 pens in it, so that's going to be 14. Red pens, it's got 5 pens in it, so that's going to be 15 because there's 3 packs, and 24 green pens because there are 6 pens and 4 packs. So in other words, that's going to give us a total of 53 pens. Okay, and then it says a total of 212 pens were sold. Well, not according to this. According to this, there was just 53 pens. So what we've got to do is look at how much more was actually sold to make it 212 pens. Well, if I multiply this by 4, I'm actually going to get 212 pens. So although the ratios themselves were 7 to 3 to 4 in terms of packs, okay, what we've got to do is look at the number of pens. And if I multiply each of these by 4, I'm going to get 56 to 60 to 96. Okay, so there were actually 96 green pens sold on that particular Monday. Okay, now what I've done on this is I've not actually done a lot of calculations here. When I actually worked this through, I did perform all the calculations, but I think sometimes it's better just to show you the kind of bare bones of it, and then you're able to kind of do the calculations for yourself. I hope that's okay. I will do on odd occasions, but when it just comes to multiplication, it may be better for you to do it for yourself. Okay, hopefully that's all right for you, and hopefully you can see that what I've done is I've just basically multiplied each of these by 4 because it's 4 times bigger. All right, let's move on then to question number 7. Here are 2 rectangles. So with these 2 rectangles, we're told that we've got the perimeter of this one is going to be 26 and the area of this one is going to be 45. Okay, so we've got to kind of think a little bit about that. We're told that QR is 10 centimetres, so in other words, it's 10 centimetres. Okay, now if QR is 10 centimetres and the area is going to be 45 centimetres, then it must be that as 10 times 4.5 equals 45, then it must be that this dimension here is 4.5 centimeters. Hopefully that makes sense to you, that just this little bit of information here and this little bit of information here means that we can work out that it must be this dimension here must be 4.5. Okay, so we're told that we're wanting now to find the length of AB, and we're also told that BC is the same as PQ. So PQ is here and BC is 4.5. Okay, it's the same. So therefore, because it's a rectangle, so is this side. Okay, and we're told that the perimeter of the whole of that rectangle is going to be 26 centimeters. So if we want to work out this, what we're going to do is we're going to add those two together, which is 9, take it away from 26 and then divide by 2, and that will give us the answer. So in other words, what we've got is ABCD equals 26, and we're going to take away from that, if you like, AD plus BC, which is equal to 9. So that's going to leave us with 17 centimeters. Now 17 centimeters is that plus that. Okay, hopefully that's all right for you. So therefore AB is half of 17, so AB equals 17 over 2, which is going to be 8.5 centimeters, and that's the answer to that particular question. Okay, hopefully that was okay for you. Please do add a comment below if you're not sure about anything. I'll always come back to you. Let's move on then to question number 8, which is an estimation type question. So estimations usually crop up on non-calculator papers. Again, can't guarantee it, but they do come up on a fairly regular basis. But hopefully when you look at this, you might appreciate that this is the same as saying root of 64 as an estimate multiplied by the root of 100, both of which are relatively easy to do. So the root of 64 is going to be 8. And the root of 100 is going to be 10. So 8 times 10 is going to be 80, which would be a very good estimate for that particular calculation. So I'll just write 80 in here And that's it. Okay, so let's move on then to question or part B. It says 2.3 to the power of 6 is 148 correct to 3 significant figures. Find the value of 0.23. Okay, it's not as straightforward as you might think. So basically what we're saying is that 2.3 to the power of 6 is 148. I'm sure it is. I haven't actually calculated that. But it is a one marker, but I'm actually going to just not work it out, but I'm going to show you the calculation. So what I've got here is 2.36 times, and what they're saying is when I multiply all of these together, what I'm going to get is 148 correct to 3 significant figures. Okay, that's fine. So what's happened in part B, or what's happened there? Well, actually, we've moved the decimal point one place. Okay, so if we move the decimal point one place, what we've basically got is 0.23 times 0.23 times 0.23 times 0.23, 0.23 times 0.23. Okay, but what you've got to remember is that we've moved the decimal point effectively 6 times. Okay, we've moved it once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. So all of these are 6 times. So actually, the decimal point at the moment is here. But because we've moved it 6 times in order to make the second bit, we've got to then move it 6 times from 148. So once, twice, 3 times, 4, 5, 6. So it's going to be 0.000148. Okay, and that would be the answer to this particular question, 0.000148. It's a fair amount of work actually for a 1 mark question, but probably quite a good question. It's not a bad question at all. Okay, so question or part C is going to be find the value of 5 to the power of minus 2. Well, every time you see a minus, it basically means a reciprocal. So we can write that as 1 over 5 squared. And 5 squared is 5 times 5, which is 25. So that's going to be 1 over 25, which is the answer to that particular question. Okay, hopefully that's all right for you. All right, let's move on then to question number 9. I'm about 20 minutes into the video. I'm going to go as far as I can today, just in about 25 minutes or so, depending on where the question ends up. Okay, so this is back to about year 6. You probably would have done this at primary school, something like this. So we're multiplying 2 mixed numbers, maybe year 7, I guess, but 2 mixed numbers together. So we're going to convert those to a top-heavy fraction or an improper fraction. Okay, and I'm going to say 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. So that's 7 over 2 multiplied by 5, 8 over 5. If you're not sure about any of these, please always let me know, because I'd be able to then point you towards some other playlists with some more examples on. Okay, now I'm actually going to just keep it as it is. There is a temptation to reduce this 2 and this 8, but I'm not going to, because 2 times 5 is 10, and when I'm dividing by 10, it just means all I'm doing is moving the decimal point, so it's kind of much easier for me. So 7 times 8 is 56, and that's going to be 56 over 10, if you like, 5 6/10. Okay, so therefore I can reduce that to 5 3/5, and that would be the answer to that particular question. Okay, hopefully that's all right for you. Let's move on then to question number 10. Now, question number 10 does look much harder than it actually is. You don't really need to do too much with question 10. It just looks more difficult. So what it says, the graphs with the equations that and that have been drawn on the grid below. Find estimates for the solutions of these simultaneous equations. So all we're basically doing is saying, what are the coordinates where the two lines cross? That's it. That's all we need to do. So it is an estimate. You've got to be a little bit careful with these, but basically that's going to be an x value of about 2.2 and a y value of about minus 1.3, 1.35, something like that. So I'm going to put that as an x value of 2.2 and a y value of minus 1.3, and that would be the answer to that particular question. So it's great that they've drawn those for us because it means we don't have to. Okay, so let's move on then to question number 11, which will be the last question on this particular video. Hopefully you're still okay with us at this particular point. That's great. So complete the table below to show information about the ages of the people on coach A. All right, well, as you know, the median is basically the middle number. So if we look at all of this, we've got 23 people on the coach. If we want to find the median value, the way we do that is we say 23 plus 1 divided by 2. It's the first value, and the 23rd value, that's going to be 24 over 2, which is going to be 12. So it's actually the 12th value. So if we count this along, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so 59 is the median value. Okay, hopefully that's all right. And then the lower quartile is basically the middle value between this number and this number. And probably, since they've been so kind as to lay it out in the way that they have, we can just cross out and work our way through. So this is the simplest way of doing it. I'm sure we could sort of do a calculation of some sort, but it's probably the easiest way to do that, to work out lower quartile is 53. And we can do exactly the same with the upper quartile. It's just the middle value, okay? So let's just work that through, and it's going to be the number 66. So the upper quartile would be 66. Okay, hopefully that's all right for you. Let's move on then to the second part of the question. Here's some information about the ages of the people on Coach B. And then we got one of those strange questions. It says, Richard says that the number of people on Coach A are younger than people in Coach B. Well, yeah, he is correct, actually, because in Coach A, the median value, which is the value we just worked out, was 59. In Coach B, the median value is actually 70. Okay, so yes, I would say he is correct. Okay. So bearing in mind this sort of thing it's one of those things where you're kind of interpreting the information that's being given to you on these two. And it's very similar with part C of this particular question, where I'll just put this up on the screen. It says, Richard says that the people on Coach A vary more in age than the people on Coach B. Okay. Is he correct, or is Richard? Well, actually, no. In this particular case, he is incorrect. Now, the reason we know that is we look at the IQ range, the interquartile range. So for Coach A, the interquartile range is going to be the difference between the upper quartile and the lower quartile. So that's going to be 13. And then in Coach B, we've got the IQ range, which again is going to be the upper quartile, take away the lower quartile, 73, take away 54 is going to give me 19. Okay, so actually the Coach A has a greater variation. Okay. Variation, and that's based on the IQ range or the interquartile range, which is the middle 50%. Okay, I hope that's been okay for you. In the next video, we're going to start from this question, which is question number 12. Please do add a comment below if you need any help with anything. Add a like to the video, it's always really appreciated. And I'll look forward to seeing you inside the next video.